So welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call. This is the weekly community call happening every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time with Microsoft speakers. Well, typically Microsoft speakers. As an example, today we celebrate the winners, award winners from our Microsoft Teams Hackathon, which was Microsoft hosted hackathon for Microsoft Teams development in the spring. So those people are not actually Microsoft employees, but they're related on this Microsoft coordinated event. So that's kind of the in quotes, not an excuse, but that's why Nandeep, Smita, Kunj, and Siddharth are doing the first demo of today. We have few of these demos coming up in upcoming weeks as well. So these are the award winners from the Microsoft Teams Hackathon event, which happened in the spring this year. Before we go there on the demo section, we'll start with the latest updates on news from Microsoft 365 platform and Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. Latest news around Microsoft blogs as well. So what's happening within the last week. It is still a bit slowly related on any larger announcements, but we're seeing some great news there as well. And then we have our group picture together with a Microsoft Teams Together mode. So if you're willing, enable the video and we'll grab a GIF animation out of that, sharing that in the social media after the call. Now let's actually, and then of course we go to the demos. We'll start with a Microsoft Teams Hackathon AI winner this time. So it's the category AI, which was this particular solution. Then we move to Garry Trinder to talk about bring your existing Microsoft Teams .NET app to Microsoft Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio 2022. Really cool scenario as well. There's a lot of existing Microsoft Teams application, and .NET for sure has been widely used. So it's good to have this tooling updated in Visual Studio 2022. And then Luca and Nick is going to talk about a new Viva Connection Advanced Card Designer functionality, and this is a world premiere to show something really cool related on Microsoft Viva Connection, so enabling actually end users or a card designers to create extensions or a cards which can be used by other people. That was a really bad explanation what it is, but Luca is going to actually, as a PM, owning PM, explain that as we get to that demo. Now, let's actually go recapping some of the assets which we have available. First of all of our community calls are getting recorded and published in our YouTube channel at Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community YouTube channel. We do have like 42,000 subscribers already there, and we publish a new video every single day within that business day within that channel, something new related on Power Platform or Microsoft 365 topics. We do have our LinkedIn group for discussions and updates. We also have open source assets available as samples and script samples and code samples within Microsoft 365, but as it might be a bit difficult to find what's relevant for you, we also have this awesome sample galleries, which is making it easier to find the sample what you look for. So don't start from scratch. Have a look on existing sample. It will get you started and moving and kickstart your solution design. And there's a lot of URLs to remember. So luckily there's only one actually, which is aggregating all of this at AKMS Community Home. As mentioned, we do have quite a few of these community calls. So this is the Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time community call. On top of this, we do have our 7 a.m. every single Thursday series, which is either Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community or Viva Connection SharePoint Framework bi-weekly calls. On top of those, we have the Power Platform monthly community calls and Office Add-in monthly community call. Now, if you haven't seen actually this slide for a while, you're wondering, hey, there was this identity call and adaptive card calls at some point. That is true. Unfortunately, those calls have been discontinued, and they're getting kind of merged on this Tuesday series. So whenever there's anything new and updates related on adaptive cards or identity, we will cover those in this Tuesday 8 a.m. Call, because we have a bit more capacity now as we're doing this call in every single week. You can download the recurrent invites from AKMS community calls, and if you're looking into agendas advance, so you know advance what's going to be covered within a call, you can always subscribe to the meetup, which is getting updated roughly a week before the call. So like on Wednesday, Thursday on the previous week, we always publish the agendas for the upcoming weekly calls, and that's a really convenient way of knowing what's going to be demoed next week. Now, some of those calls do welcome community demos, which are great because it's not just about Microsoft showcasing, let's say, the marketing messages or the art of possible from our side. It's about enabling our customers and partners storytelling what they built and showing their samples and scenarios and all of that. And that's a super important thing and super important focus area within this course. So we do welcome you to do demos in here as a Microsoft employee or as a external person, as a customer, partner, and so on. So do subscribe at AKMS community request demos. We do then contact you, have a discussion on what kind of topics you're looking into doing, and we will give you guidance. So if you haven't actually, for example, done any of the demos in the past, we will guide you through the process, and we can even help you on reviewing the slides and presentation and all of that. So don't be afraid of doing those demos for sure. We also have a lot of material available for getting started in Microsoft Cloud. First of all, you want to subscribe to Microsoft 365 Developer Program to get a free E5 developer tenant, which will renew automatically as you keep on using that for developer purposes. And then we have a lot of material available for Microsoft 365 development, for Power Platform, and other areas in the Microsoft Learn platform. We also have our different shows, weekly or bi-weekly shows related on Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. We have the BMP Weekly, which is back today from the summer vacation. And this is now season 8. Episode 1 went live today with Chris Kent, where we talk about the Microsoft 365 development, Power Platform development, AI's impact on the development, and the examples what he's building in Takeda. So really, really cool stuff on that discussion. Thank you, David, on that one. And then there's the Microsoft community at LinkedIn, Power Platform Connections with David Warner and Hugo Bernier, Mondays and Microsoft with Caruana and Heather. And then we have the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast available for you to get access. Now, we already mentioned that there's a lot of samples available. We actually didn't, I forgot about updating the slide. We did probe the magical 1,700 samples from Microsoft and community earlier this week. So we have more than 1,700 samples from this one centralized location for you to take advantage across the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform area. So please, please, please do take advantage. And if you're looking for something which isn't there, let us know as well, because then we can actually prioritize creating a sample with our resources, maybe in Microsoft side, to help you get unblocked. Now, as you find a sample, you might be wondering, hey, wait, this is in GitHub. I'm not familiar with this stuff. Or if you're wondering on maybe I could actually do a demo, but I'm not sure how to do those community demos. We do got you covered, and that's with the Sharing is Caring initiative. And David is going to do a quick intro on this. Throwing it to LA.
Yes, live from Los Angeles. Thank you, Vesa. All right, friends. Sharing is Caring is live and well, and we are here to support you. That means that you are free to join these calls, which are live Teams calls with other members of the community, where you in a safe space will learn together in a hands-on format. So as Vesa mentioned, we might not know how to understand or navigate GitHub. We're going to do an actual pull request together in a live demo together. So don't hesitate to join. It's a very safe space. We don't record it, so you're free to ask any and all questions that you want. In fact, we've got the Power Platform samples contributor tomorrow, and that covers just all of GitHub. We use Power Platform as the canvas, but friends, feel free to join, even if you want to submit to SPFX or list formatting or any of the above. So check it out, ak.ms/sharing is caring. And then once you have contributed, we want to recognize you for all the amazing work that you're doing. And hey, Starbucks brought it out, so are we. PSL, pumpkin spice, a lot of commits. So this is coming out soon. Get your hands on this one-time only badge. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some other fun thematic badges coming up this year, so let's have some fun together. We got Hacktoberfest just around the corner and a number of other initiatives that we're going to do for fun to make sure that you're recognized for the work that you're doing. Make sure you opt in, ak.ms/community/recognition. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Helsinki continues. Thank you, LA. Now, on the events, this is how we move across the world, which is pretty magical when I think about it. Now, on the event side, 365 EduCon happened last week. The Seattle one happened last week, and the October 30 to November 3rd is the Chicago one. Really, really great opportunities to catch up and meet Microsoft employees and also other community members. We also have the Power Platform conference coming up in October 3rd to 5th, 2023 at Las Vegas at MGM Grand, a really, really great venue. I've been there a few times. To be with all the honesty, I hate Vegas, but MGM is pretty okay. And so I typically stay within that small building, which is super small, as we know. Anyway, do join us on the Microsoft Power Platform Conference in Las Vegas in early October to hear about the latest around Power Platform. Now, there are also a lot of other events and community-led events happening all the time across the world, and do check out communitydays.org. And this is just a quick list of stuff in September. Well, actually not August, September, just September forward. So a lot of events throughout the world. Some of these are in person, some of these are virtual. So do check out the details from the communitydays.org website. Now, quick recap also on what's happening from the news from Microsoft side. So this is basically what's the latest within all of those different platforms. First of all, there's a few updates on the Microsoft Teams side related on announcing more seamless collaboration in Microsoft Teams for multi-tenant organizations, which is really, really cool. So if you're working with the larger customers, there are a lot of improvements on that side. And then there's a AI storytelling around the partner storytelling, partner solution. We also released an update on SharePoint Web UI Kit. So if you're building portals and experiences with SharePoint, for example, embedding them in Microsoft Teams or in other areas, there's a lot of assets available there. There's also a great podcast on the intro zone around the Viva connection adaptation best practices with Liz and Louis. There was also updates on Power Platform side on the Power Automate for desktop and Power Automate telemetry data within Azure Application Insights. It's a really, really cool updates as well. And then updates on the Microsoft 365 developer side. And unless I'm completely mistaken, let me confirm, David has shared the links within the chat. Thank you, David, on that one. Now, before we then go to the actual stars of today, we are right on schedule. Let's do a quick group photo for those who are willing to participate on that. So let me flip the view together mode. And let's do. Apparently we are green today. So let me put this one in here. And let's wait a few more minutes so that everybody has time to get in. We do have 50 seats in the room. I will start my Camtasia recorder. As we're waiting, no pixelation. It looks really, really good. Good news from breaking news from chat in there. We still have few seats in the room. We are not yet recording. Let's wait for a while. Oh, and I need to make sure that I'm recording the right location. There we go. I guess that's it. And then 3, 2, 1, and let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. A lot of familiar faces here. Really awesome to see you on a call. Excellent. And everybody's smiling. Cool. Yay. Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you for that one. We'll do share the GIF animation in the social media after the call. Now, then it's time to go to the actual demos and the stars of today. Right on schedule, and we have some flexibility here as well. So we'll start with the Hackathon Hack Together Microsoft Teams Global Hack AI winner. I'm not actually sure who's going to start sharing and who's talking from Nandeep and Smita and Kunj and Siddharth, but I will let them lead the demo in here. Kunj is sharing. That's a great start.
All right, thank you for this. Yeah, we are a team of 4, so we will be taking you through this entire demo. So hi everyone, it is nice to be here to present our team's global hack project, which is Knowledge Quest Team Spot. So this solution is awarded as the best AI-powered solution during Microsoft Teams Global Hack 2023, which had happened during 1st to 15th of June 2023. So quickly about this solution. So this Knowledge Quest Team Bot is kind of an interactive chatbot application which is designed to allow user to test their knowledge on specific subject or on a specific topic using the power of OpenAI. So this app or this bot provides engaging kind of an educational experience for the users to challenge themselves and expand their knowledge on various areas. And this project shows how you can integrate the power of OpenAI or specifically Azure OpenAI into Microsoft Teams app. So moving ahead, this is the knowledge or the hack team that we have got. Okay, I guess you're scrolling too fast. All right. So the hack team includes myself, Nandeep Nachan. Along with me, I have got Siddharth, Vaghasia, Smita, Nachan, and Kunj, Sangani. And these are our social media handles. If in case you want to get in touch with us to discuss more on this. So just moving next to know more about this bot application.
Yeah, so let's talk about this Knowledge Quest Team bot. So it is a kind of an interactive chatbot application which allows a user to test their knowledge on a specific topic using the power of OpenAI. So this app provides the engaging and educational experience where user can challenge themselves and expand their knowledge on various areas. So let's check next for the key features. So what are the key features of this bot? So the first key feature here is the topic selection. So user can choose from the wide range of topics available within the app. So These topics can include the subjects like technology. So, for example, it can be Microsoft Azure, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, .NET, AWS, and many more. So, it can also help us to generate the questions on science, history, geography, literature, mathematics, and other areas as well. So, secondly, it helps us to dynamically generate the questions. So, this bot leverages the capabilities of OpenAI to generate the relevant and challenging question based on the selected topic. So the questions are designed to test the user's understanding and the depth of knowledge in the chosen subject. So the thirdly, it is a kind of an interactive quiz experience wherein the user can engage in an interactive quiz session where they receive the questions one at a time from the bot. They can provide their answers and the team's bot evaluate them to determine the correctness at the end. Again, it provides the user-friendly interface. So this app provides the engaging interface via adaptive cards, ensuring the seamless and enjoyable user experience. So the interface is designed to be virtually appealing and easy to navigate, which allows the user to focus on the quiz content. And lastly, it provides the statistics. So the app offers the statistics regarding the quizzes you have taken in the past, including your scores also. And this feature provides the valuable insights into your knowledge and learning progress based on the various previous quiz performances. So it is a kind of an excellent tool to assess how well you are doing and track your growth over the time. So let's see next what are the prerequisites. So what are the prerequisites to get this bot working? So at least you will need Node.js and the supported versions. Here are the 16 and 18. So you also need Microsoft 365 account. So for example, if you do not have it, then you can apply the one from Microsoft 365 developer program. And lastly, you will need Teams Toolkit Visual Studio Code extension with version of 5.0.0 or higher. So let's see the next how does it works. So user starts interacting with the knowledge quest teams bot by asking that he or she wants to test their knowledge on a specific topic. Then this knowledge bot or knowledge quest team bot makes a call to Azure OpenAI using an npm package called as OpenAI. So while we do that, we generate the prompt. So sometimes like generate this many numbers of multi-choice questions with the correct answer option and reference links on given subject by user in a JSON format with the elements such as question options, answers, and reference link. And then we provide the deployment ID as text DaVinci 003, and in response to that, Azure OpenAI give us this set of questions in this format. So here it is the question text, and then we have got certain options A, B, C, D, and then lastly it gives us the correct answer, and then again a reference link. For example, if the user want to know more about that question, and then this bot also help us to show all this information in a form of adaptive cards, wherein user can interact with questions and at the end they get evaluated on the selected subjects. So let's go ahead into the demo and let's see the demo how it exactly works.
Thank you, Smita. So let me share my screen. I think it is visible. And if you can see, when I install the bot, it gives me a welcome card. Okay. The welcome card specify what are the things which the end user can do. The end user can either select self-assessment or can see their statistics. Okay. So if you have already used the bot previously and directly want to see the statistics, you can just click on my statistics. And because it is currently working in my local, you can see you get the result as your knowledge question quiz statistics with a good looking table wherein you can see what are the quiz which I have taken and what was the score. Now, if I want to do the self-assessment, so if I click on self-assessment, it would give me an interactive adaptive card wherein I can select my topic I can choose any topic and I can give number of questions which I want. Okay. So let's say, for example, let me select Azure and give number of question as 5. And when I click on start self-assessment, at any given point of time, I can go and check my stats. But let me start the self-assessment. On click of the self-assessment, behind the scene, the Azure Open AI gets called. It fetches the results and it sends us the adaptive card with the questions and the answers. So answers is not visible to the end user, but internally the answer is present. So if you can see, I have the question available with the reference link. So if I want to click the reference link, I can go and check what is the question related to and what it resembles to, if I want to learn something. Okay. So I can select the option and click on next question. And any given point of time, I can end the assessment as well. So if I end the assessment, I'll be assessed based on a number of questions which I have answered. Okay. So once I click on next question, you see it gets updated with the new question. It shows us what number of question is currently being shown and total how many questions are present. So what I'll do is I'll quickly select the answers. Okay. And let us, I'm not pretty much sure if I'm choosing the right answers, but let us hope I get some result out of it. Okay, and when I click on next question, which would end my assessment with a knowledge score of 0. So, okay, if my answers were correct, it would have given me that many score. Okay, because I was randomly choosing it, it gave me 0 out of 5, and it shows that I have no knowledge of Azure, and that would be updated in my statistics as well. Okay, so this is the demo part. Now let us go through the code walkthrough. Okay, let me bring the Okay, so when you create a bot using Teams Toolkit, the first thing which you can see is, if I go to the how the solution looks, under the bot, there is a file called as index.ts, which is actually a file wherein the server gets started. Okay, and you create an instance of the bot. Okay, so first the bot instance is getting created in the index.ts, and there are an API called as /API/messages, which is being served from the Restify HTTP server. And all the endpoints, like this is the endpoint which is getting called every time from the bot. Okay, so this is what gets created from the Teams Toolkit itself. Then our bot gets run. So whenever a new message is arrived or whenever some message is updated, new event is fired, this API would be called. Okay. Next, what we do is, then if you see, the Teams bot get extended from the Teams activity handler. So why we would require Teams activity handler is, we want to receive the message, we want to send interactive message, the welcome message and all those things. So we need to extend the Teams activity handler, which is available from the bot builder module. Okay. Next, if I go, is we have two methods. One is called as on message. This is part of the constructor in the Teams bot itself. This is part of the constructor. The on message is whenever I receive a message, this method would be called, and we do all the operations related to that method. That okay, if I type welcome, what should be sent? If I type learn, what should be sent based on what text I am sending. Next, if you see, whenever a new member is added, this is another method called as on member added. This would be called whenever a new member is added. We send an welcome card whenever a new message is, whenever a new member is added. Then if we see, this is the welcome card. This is the adaptive card which we send. Okay, and all the actions has a verb, and this verb would be resembling in our method. I'll show you in the next slides. Okay, if I go, this is the verb called as select self assessment. When I click on the button, and if I want to see my stats, this is the verb which we are sending. Now this verb would come it in the on adaptive card invoke method, and we switch it based on the verb. Okay, so for every verb, for selecting the self assessment, for showing the stats, we have all different switch cases. Okay, So if I select my statistics, or if I select my start self-assessment, this is where we generate the prompt. So if you see, here we have the generate invoke this many number of questions with multi-line of choice. And this was the topic in the JSON format which we want. Then we do certain operations. Currently in the demo, I have not used it. What I have done is I have created, or rather I have used a sample data present over here, which resembles the data coming from the OpenAI. Okay. Next, if I click on the next question, there is something called as if we check whether the assessment question which we have, the answer is equal to the one which the user has selected. If yes, we add the current answer plus one. If not, we do not do anything. So that is how our code works. For the future enhancement, let me hand it over to Siddharth.
Thank you, Kunj. So as this was part of a AI hack which we did, we also had few enhancements which thought would be a nice addition to the sample or to the solution which we have built. So considering the future enhancement, we thought we can, right now it is just in bot, but what we can do is we can add it as a Teams tab, wherein the my stat experience which we are getting as a part of adaptive card, we can kind of have a full-fledged tab within Teams where user would be able to see all the quiz they have taken, all the historical scores which they have seen, and what are the answers, correct or incorrect answers which they have given, which will help them to improve their knowledge itself. Plus, then we thought we would be also able to kind of, based on the data which we have, right, like we would be able to capture this historical scores. Based on that, we would know that who are the people who have a good experience in particular topic like Azure, SPFX, SharePoint, Teams, etc. And based on that, we can also kind of create and dashboard for the user to display different experts which are available. Using that, we can also assign different points and create a gamification concept out of it and use that to display in the leadership tab. Then we thought of also adding a feature wherein user can, because if it is a bot and if we don't interact with the bot, it doesn't do anything, right? So we thought of adding an option wherein user can choose to send a proactive quiz based on a particular time. So if like if Thursday is free for us and we can send a type say that every Thursday at this time, please send me a quiz on a particular topic, and it will call the Azure OpenAI and they send proactive quiz to the user so that they can answer it rather than having to interact with the bot itself, but using the proactive messages. Plus, it can also be extended wherein we can challenge someone in the team itself, within the teams, to create again kind of a gamification or a quiz kind of thing on a particular topic, that hey, I'm sending you a quiz, can you answer it? And based on that, we would see how much knowledge that particular person have. And lastly, we can also, we thought of adding a report discrepancy depending, because we are using Azure OpenAI service, and which is an open large LLM model based on the OpenAI itself. There might be certain things which might be incorrect, right? And we might want to give user a way to report that particular discrepancy if there is any in the answer itself, so that AI model can improve in itself. So yeah, that's it from the future enhancement which we are planning to work on from here on to kind of make it as a full-fledged solution. And if you guys think if there is anything which can be added, we are very welcome. If you can send it in the Teams message, we would like to add it in the future enhancement. That's it from our demo side. Thanks, and over to you, Vesa.
Excellent, really, really cool, and such an awesome scenario. And I love the simplicity and the implementation style there. So super valuable. Excellent job. Now let's then move to Garry's table. And Garry is clearly ready to go. We can see the screen, and we'll focus on Microsoft Teams development. Garry, take it away.
Yes. Hopefully you can hear me all good.
All good. All good.
Perfect. Right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Garry Trinder. I'm Cloud Developer Advocate at Microsoft. And today I'm going to cover some of the new updates that have recently been released for Teams Toolkit in Visual Studio 2022 version 17.7. And I'm going to show how you can bring an existing Microsoft Teams.NET app into Teams Toolkit. So let's start with Teams Toolkit. What is it? Well, Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio is an extension that makes it easier for developers to create, debug, deploy and publish apps for Microsoft Teams and do it fast. So create your project, press F5, start developing, reduce those manual configuration steps, and let the automation that Teams Toolkit gives you do the rest. Now, whilst that's great from getting started point, we've heard a lot of feedback from developers. Feedback like, I don't really know what Toolkit is doing behind the scenes, and I want to be able to change what it's actually doing. And I've got resources already that I've provisioned. I want to reuse those. And another issue of, well, you're using ngrok for the tunnel endpoint for developing bots, but my organization blocks it. So in this latest release, there's been updates to address these challenges so that you can see exactly what Toolkit is doing behind the scenes, that you're able to go and change things, that you can reuse those resources, and you don't have to use ngrok anymore. So the first update is the introduction of what's called a project file. So this is a YAML file. It's similar to a GitHub Actions workflow if you use those in the past. So this defines a set of lifecycle stages and actions that you can run, and this is kind of going to trigger automation to so you don't have to do manual repetitive tasks. And it's fully customizable as well, so you're encouraged to come into here and change these files to your own needs. So within that project file, we have lifecycle stages that contain actions. And these actions are individual blocks of processes that just describe what's going to happen when the automation within your project runs. And Teams Toolkit provides a set of predefined actions that your project can use, and you can use to just take your project in whatever direction you need it to. So there at the moment are 26 available actions, and you see some of them on the screen at the moment. The short link aka.ms/teamsfx-actions has all of the information on how to use these actions and what you would use them for as well, although they are pretty descriptive. They range from doing things in Azure to updating Teams apps, SharePoint framework, or just running CLI commands as well. So there's lots of variation in there, lots of flexibility. And finally, so I mentioned that you don't have to use ngrok anymore. So in this release, you're able to use Visual Studio Dev Tunnels, which is integrated tunneling service as part of Visual Studio with Teams Toolkit. So don't have to use ngrok anymore. You can set up a new dev tunnel using your developer account, have everything together all in one place as well. You don't have to set up different services. You can just do it all through Visual Studio. So let's talk about how we can use these new features to bring an existing Microsoft Teams.NET app to Teams Toolkit. So when I say about existing, this is any Teams app that is built not using a Teams Toolkit template. And what I'm going to show you is a starting sample and show you the steps that I went through to bring this project to Teams Toolkit, and then just improve on it by adding in automation that Teams Toolkit provides. So this is the sample. It's available from the community samples, aka.ms/community/samples. So you can go take a look at that. And one of the things to mention about this project is to actually get it set up. I had to do quite a bit of work. So I had to go into Azure. I had to set up Azure AD app registration, configure it, configure Azure Bot Service, configure SSO as well. I had to then come into my project, update some environment variables. Then had to, make sure that my web server was started. I had to start ngrok. I had to update my manifest, update my bot as well with my messaging endpoint that might have changed from ngrok, and actually, get the web server running. And then to deploy the app, I had to create an app package. I had to zip up the files, and I had to then manually sideload that app into Teams as well. A lot of manual effort. And what I'm going to show you now is a Teams Toolkit kind of improved version of this project that does all of this without having to do any manual configuration steps as well. So this updated project that I'm going to show you is available on GitHub from this link. I'll drop it in the chat as well later. But let's take a look at the code. So let's take a look at the original project. Ooh, wrong one. I knew I was going to get that one. Okay, so here's the original project that you can go and get from the samples gallery. So we've got our app package, we've got the manifest file in there, we've got some code already. In here, just to show you kind of what this sample project does, it goes to authenticate the user using single sign-on and gets a graph token, which we can look at down here, creates a client from the token, and then simply gets the user's details and their photo and responds back into the chat. So pretty simple, but lots of moving pieces. If we just quickly take a look at the manifest file, so this was the manifest file, just with placeholders that I had to put in these static values in, so things like the bot ID and the domains as well for ngrok, update the SSO information, and also update my app settings as well, which my app's going to use when it's actually running. But there's quite a lot of duplication here, and I'm using IDs in all different places. Not really got a central place to manage those. So that's one of the things which I'm going to improve on this with Teams Toolkit as well, and get rid of those manual steps of having to zip these 3 files up and then upload that into Teams. So let's take a look at the other project, so the one that I have updated. So this is what it looks like. This is my new version of this sample. So we still see that the code is pretty much the same. The dialogue here is exactly the same. I've not touched any of the logic in this application. I've just added extra files to make it work with Teams Toolkit. So first of all, I need to enable this project with Teams Toolkit. So we know that that Teams Toolkit is enabled when we get this menu, right? But at the very beginning, we don't have this. So how do we tell Visual Studio that this is an enabled project? It's quite easy. We can edit the CS project file. So we can add this item group in here, which just adds in the project capability, which is Teams FX. And we've added in a couple of exclusions for folders for the builds as well. So we don't want all of our files to be added into the build that potentially we're going to add into our project. But this is the key item here, this project capability. When you save this this item group, you'll get a little message from Visual Studio, and you will see the menu appear on here. And the menu then gives us different options, different utilities for Teams development, but it gives us this prepare Teams app dependencies feature, which is what we are using to trigger automation in our project. So how do we then start to make sure that we can start this automation? Well, a great place to start is actually centralizing our environment variables. So I've created a folder called env, and in here we've got a few files. Ignore the sample ones for now, you can check those later in the GitHub repo, but the env.local file is where I store all of my environment variables for this project. And there's quite a few here at the moment, but there's some main ones like the app ID for the bot, the connection name that I'm using for the graph connection, Teams app IDs, so on and so on. But basically, this has allowed me to centralize my my environment variables, and I can use this throughout my project and really use Teams Toolkit's ability to have token replacement in different files in this project. So the other place where I'm storing a variable is in this one in the user sample. So we have our app password as well. So we store this in a .user file just so that we separate our client secrets, our security credentials from a different place from our normal environment variables. So once I've got all my environment variables stored in all one place, I can then start the automation, and I can do this through the project files. So I have two project files here, Teams app YAML and Teams app local.yaml. So at the moment, you have to have this file here, even though I'm not doing anything with it at the moment, it has to exist. But this local file is where the automation is going to be triggered. So in here, you can see I've got a number of actions to create a Teams app, create the Azure AD app registration, update it as well. So I've got an extra file in this project now that actually I can configure my Azure AD settings. So if I look at this AAD manifest, I have a copy of the manifest from the Azure portal, but I'm using token replacement for injecting the ID in there, the app IDs. I can come in here, change the permissions that it's using as well. And reply URL. So I don't even have to go into the Azure portal anymore. I can just come into my project and make changes and then just push those changes, which is really, really nice. Couple of other updates that we've got. We've got some validation for the manifest and being able to zip the app package automatically, validate that app package as well. And once it's validated, actually upload that app into Teams for us as well. The next task is an ARM deploy task, which, because I'm using Azure Bot Service, I want to keep that in check. I now want that Azure Bot Service to be part of my project so that I can make changes. And then, again, same with the Azure AD app registration. I want to make changes in my project and then push those to Azure. We can do that with bicep files in here. So I've got a bicep file that has the definition of my bot service. So it describes the channel that it's using as well, and also a graph connection, which I'm using for SSO. I have a parameters file that also uses the token replacement that Teams Toolkit gives me. So I can reference my environment variables in here as well. Really nice. I go back to the file. So in here, I've got a couple more tasks that are happening. I can sync my app settings from my environment variables as well. Again, just using token replacement. And this final task adds a nice debug profile into Visual Studio so that when I hit F5, it can actually launch the side-loading install dialog straight for me, and I don't have to go manually and update things. So after doing all of those updates, what that means is when I come to Teams Toolkit and hit Prepare Teams App Dependencies, I get this little dialog asking which account do you want to use. So this is the tenant that it's going to start provisioning these items against. It's going to provision everything if it doesn't exist, but if it does exist, it's just going to make amends and go, okay, I know that you've got these app registration IDs. I know you've got Azure as well, and it will make those slight updates for you, which is, again, really nice. Just means that you don't have to keep going backwards and forwards and making those manual updates. Now, I'm not going to run this process now because it will take a while, but you can see that I've already run this process, and you can see you get a nice summary of all the things that it's actually done as well. So I'm at the stage where everything is complete. I can just run F5 or go into here and run that. Now, one thing that I didn't mention was dev tunnels. So I have a dev tunnel set up in here as well, and that's really nice and easy through the UI. I can just use my existing account, give it a name, make it public, and Teams Toolkit will pick up that URL for us when we do the Prepare Teams App Dependencies, and it will automatically then update our environment variables in here, which is great. And if this ever changes, if I want to use a temporary tunnel and Visual Studio changes it every time that I open Visual Studio, or a permanent one, what's great is because I've got the ARM deploy step in there, it will automatically update the Azure Bot Service as well, keeping everything in sync. So really, really nice. Let's just run this app now. So I'm just going to run F5. And let's quickly see it running. So wait for the Teams logo. We'll have the install dialog. Here we go. Add that conversation bot in there. Okay, so I've just had a notification because we've got a welcome message in here. It's already started a new conversation. So I'm going to type anything to get logged in. That's going to log me in. It's going to return my name, my job title, and my picture as well. Perfect. So it's all running, same as what it was doing as in the original sample, but now in this project's in a much better place. So if I quickly go back to the project, let's just say I'm a brand new developer coming to this project, and these IDs don't exist, right? There'll be a few which are static, but let's say I've just removed all of these. When we prepare those app dependencies, Teams Toolkit is going to go and provision all those things for you, and it's going to pull all the IDs into this environment variable. And then you, as a developer coming into this project, won't have to do all those manual steps that the person like I did right at the very beginning. And it's a really nice way then of being able to clear down Azure resources as well when you don't need them, because you can just use Teams Toolkit to re-provision them as you need them as well. So that is how I upgraded a project. I just go back to my slides. I'll skip the overview steps because I'm short on time a little bit, but those they are for you to recap on. So one thing is, if you haven't tried Teams Toolkit in Visual Studio, try it today. You need to install it. It's not installed by default. You install it using the Visual Studio installer under the ASP.NET and web development tools. Take the Microsoft Teams development tools box, and that will install it. And you can get all the information from the aka.ms link below. And Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you, Garry. Really cool setup, and awesome to see the improvements in Visual Studio side on these areas as well. Now let's then move to Luca and Nick, and I think Luca is going to share the screen. And this is a worldwide premiere, right, Luca?
Hopefully. Can you folks see my screen?
Yep, we can see the screen. Take it away.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Good morning. My name is Luca. I am a PM in the application and platform experience team here in OneDrive SharePoint. Together with me, I have Nick, which is a senior developer here in the same team, and we will talk about the new capabilities and functionalities of the card designer. So the world we are operating today is in the Microsoft Viva world. Microsoft Viva, which provides a set of tools and experiences that are tailored to specific functionalities and capabilities that are required by the employers and people to be able to express and do their best in the work that they're doing every day. In the Microsoft Viva ecosystem, we have Connections, or Viva Connection, which is basically the home and the entry point of the entire Microsoft Viva ecosystem. In Connection, you can have the ability to have specific tools provided by Microsoft or provided by third parties that are functioning on specific capabilities that you can use for your day-by-day work. Like, for example, if you are a frontline worker, you can have some kind of check-in, check-out, or clock-in, clock-out capabilities and functionalities. You have a set of resources that can be configured to point to specific tools that you need in the day-by-day work. And you have personalized communications and feeds that can provide information from Microsoft 365 sources, just like Microsoft Stream, Yammer, aka Viva Engage, as well as SharePoint news posts. The Microsoft Viva Connections express itself in three different functional devices or hosts, which is the Microsoft Teams desktop, a SharePoint page, or a Microsoft Teams mobile, which gives the ability to users to be able to access all of these resources from the point of their finger, no matter where they are, either if they are sitting at a desk in front of a laptop or if they are a deskless frontline worker with their mobile tools. If we focus on the tools and applications, Viva Connection has a concept of a dashboard. Dashboard has a concept of cards, and cards can be either functionalities that we provide out of the box in Microsoft, or can be extended by partners and customers using a SharePoint framework. And in terms of extensibility and implementation, you have basically in the Viva Connections dashboard experience three different categories of implementation. You have what we call the no-code cards, which are basically cards that can be used from the get-go in order to create an entry point to existing application. For example, we have the Teams app card that gives you the ability as an operator to configure a dashboard and point to existing Teams application. Or you have the web link card, which does something similar, but instead of to Teams application, to existing web application, just like links to SharePoint pages or third-party sites. Then we have the what we call the low code, which is where the card designer sits, where you can basically still create a card as an operator, and you can inject some kind of logics and UX using adaptive card in order to create functionals, that's the right word I was looking for, functionals, card view and quick views. And then you have the pro dev capabilities where you basically can create custom cards from zero using a SharePoint framework and connect this card to personal application using Teams tabs and meeting application or web part extensions and application pages that are part of the extensibility framework of SharePoint. Today, we already have the card designer. The card designer today gives the ability to create card views and quick views, but it's a little bit limited in terms of capabilities, because the only thing that you can do with the card designer today is that when you create the quick view, you can still basically have control of the full-fledged adaptive card JSON that powers the quick view itself, but you cannot inject you cannot inject dynamic data. The only data that you can put there is data inside the JSON itself, which is pretty static. So as part of these new functionalities, we are introducing advanced capabilities in the card designer. So with that kind of new functionalities, what we can do, we are basically giving the opportunity for the operator to introduce some kind of API calls and some kind of injecting dynamic data in the views of the card itself. The way that it works is basically we give the opportunity through the designer itself while the card gets configured, the ability to select if you want to access SharePoint data or Microsoft Graph data, and then we give you the opportunity to insert this data in the while building the views in the card itself. Right now, we are limited in the type of data that you can access to SharePoint data and Microsoft Graph data for scopes that have been previously approved inside the tenant. So if you're familiar with the extensibility model of SharePoint, you know that through the SharePoint framework, you can already create widgets, web parts, full pages, applications, extensions, or even Teams application in your tenancy that can access APIs, including Microsoft Graph. While doing that, you basically interact with the administrator so that the administrator can approve these permissions, and he or she can approve that in the SharePoint tenant administration page. If the administrator happen to approve scopes for Microsoft Graph, those scopes will be available through the advanced capabilities in the card designer. The good news about this flow is that we have taking a proactive approach. What I mean by that is that we are proactively making the card available with no interaction from the administrator. We still provide governance capability to the administrator, and we will show that in a second in the demo, meaning that the administrator still has control of what the card can do in terms of being enabled or disabled, but the administrator is not getting involved during the implementation of the card and the configuration of the card. The administrator can act by disabling the card only after the fact. So the card will be available immediately. No admin tasks and steps required for the cards to be available, but the admin can still control the card after the fact. With that said, I will hand the mic to Nick, which is going to show us how this new functionality works.
Yeah, thank you, Luca. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Fair warning, the last time that I did a screen share with a large group, we did have some technical difficulties. So if that does happen, Luca will step in with a recorded video. But as you can see here, this is the Viva Connections dashboard page. And so I'm acting right now as a regular user that has permissions to edit this dashboard, so a dashboard operator. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new card designer. And so let's go ahead and configure some of these properties really fast. Today we're going to take a look at the lists that are in the root site. So let's go ahead and call this card my lists, and we'll say lists. So in the root site, most of this is kind of unchanged, from the existing card designer experience. But as we go through these different settings, we're going to set this card designer to show the quick view. Right now, there's one quick view that appears when you click on the card. And down here, you can see a drop down for configuring a different data source. Right now, this is what we have currently. It's just a static JSON blob. But going forward, you can now select, for example, a Microsoft Graph API. And when we come over to the Graph Explorer, which is a really useful resource for understanding what APIs are available, there is a cool tab down here called Adaptive Cards. So if you are working with adaptive card markup, this is really useful for kind of giving you a template right off the bat that matches the data that's coming back from this API. So we're going to take a look at the V1 sites root lists API. So let's go ahead and paste that in, and we'll test it. And we'll see down here that the result of that response is kind of previewed to us. And then we'll go ahead and take this template and we'll paste it over. We'll paste it over into the Adaptive Cards Designer right here. And we can kind of see, this is what this will look like. And we can take our sample and paste it over into the Adaptive Cards Designer as well. And this one, it doesn't quite do anything interesting, but normally you would sort of build your card up in here. We've got this Viva Connections host app, so this will be a pretty good resource for seeing how your card view will actually look. So with that being said, you can come in here and modify this. Let's say we like this this template that we've created. We're going to go ahead and paste it up here into the template JSON body. And when we click apply, this is actually going to save our card. And in a second, I'll show you what that looks like in the app catalog. But we'll save this and we'll go ahead and publish this page. And then you'll see when we click on the list, we have this data that's coming back from the Microsoft Graph API that's pointing, giving us kind of a list of all the lists on the root site. And obviously this button is already hooked up, so you click on it, it'll take you directly to that site. And so I'm not going to give away too much of the roadmap here, but there is a lot of stuff we're looking at in terms of making this experience a little bit better, bringing in some of the features from the Adaptive Card Designer and the Graph API, just to make this where you're not necessarily jumping between a bunch of different tabs. So now we have created this card, and if I flip over and take a look in the app catalog as the site administrator, you can now see that card has now appeared as an SP package in the app catalog. So this could be deleted, this could be disabled, it could be downloaded and edited and re-uploaded, all sorts of cool stuff. So we'll go ahead and show deleting this. If you do delete it, this is like a fully fledged SPFX package, so the behavior here will be similar to if you just deleted an SP package that you had uploaded. But when we go back to the dashboard and we let's go back and out of edit mode here. Well, you will see that the card is no longer renderable to the user. So if there is a reason that the tenant admin wants to disable it, they can do that. And end users will no longer be seeing that. So this was a pretty quick demo. I know we're running out of time, so I'll hand it back to Luca.
Thank you. Very quickly, before I give back to Vesa for the closure messages, we are planning to ship this feature this calendar year. We are also, I think I feel pretty confident to say that we want to ship this feature this quarter. So stay tuned to see news about this feature coming up to your tenant. And with that, Vesa, all yours.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Luca. Really, really cool. So empowering end users to design those custom experiences for a repeatable process. So that's really, really, really cool. Awesome stuff. Now, today we have had three demos. We had the Hack Together, Microsoft Teams Global Hack AI winner. That was really, really cool, related on using ChatGPT style NLP, natural language processing, to detecting what's actually happening. Awesome stuff. Garry showed the Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio 2022 with Teams Toolkit, and then Luca and Nick really great demo on Viva Connection. A lot of investments on that side as well. Next week, we have another hackathon winner from the hackathon last spring. This is the Microsoft Teams Global Hackathon Productivity winner, which is a really cool solution from Dan and Jeppe. And then we have Irina Wang showing add actions to files with custom actions across Microsoft 365, and Marcel Ferreira showing create Power App from your ASP.NET API, so Visual Studio Power Platform. Really, really cool scenarios next Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Now, if you have questions in the meanwhile, or you want to get involved within the community, do join our Discord channel as well. A great opportunity of engaging, asking questions from other people in the community. We're closing into 500 active community members over there, so that's working really, really well. And we also want to have your feedback, so please take the time and set up the form. If you answered already, you can always answer again if you have related on the content what you've seen today, or what to say in the future as well. So your feedback is super, super important for us, so we can adjust these calls also in the future. The recording of this call will be available within the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community YouTube channel within 24 hours, typically less than that actually, but we promise 24 hours just in case. Follow up, subscribe there, you will get a notice whenever the video is available. Next call, already mentioned, is on 5th of September. September is coming, autumn is coming in the Northern Hemisphere clearly. All the community calls are at AKMS/community and calls. And that's it for today. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for the great presenters. Have a safe and awesome rest of the week, and see you in the community calls and in the other channels. Thank you everybody. Bye-bye.